Hey everybody, this is Jackie from the Australian Incupod. You are tuning into the second part of our interview with Natalie from Migraine World. Part 2 of this interview gives insight into Natalie's chaotic life, addressing the misconception that you can't have two demanding roles simultaneously, and also the importance of applying business models into a social initiative.
So what was it like creating 18 international partnerships?
Yeah, it was really fun. We have partnered with smaller organisations, grassroots organisations, and then we've partnered with some big ones like Whale and Dolphin Conservation, who are one of the biggest marine charities in the world. It's been really, really interesting. As a company, Migraine World will only align with organisations that meet certain requirements, that share our values, that don't keep animals in captivity, that are largely working on the root cause of the issue. And we have partner charities that work for across a whole range of continents and different species. So we have charities that work with sea turtles, charities that work with camels in the Gobi Desert. So it's really quite broad. And I've had the opportunity to visit some of our partner charities, which has been great. But I do. I make sure that whoever we align ourselves with, that they are doing impactful work. So quite a lot of research goes into choosing the right partners. I think every organisation should be prioritising that, because I don't want to inadvertently be supporting an organisation that is doing something counterintuitive to our mission, I guess.
So what was the application process like?
For partner charities.
Yeah.
It wasn't so much an application process. It was, when I started looking for partners, we weren't big enough for people to come. Nobody cared if they were partnered with us. We weren't a big deal. So it was, I was reaching out to charities that I thought were doing really great work, and asked if they would want to partner and be featured in our app, and I wanted to support them, and most of them said yes. It was a win-win for them.
Definitely wasn't difficult.
There was a few that never wrote back to my emails, and then I had to get lawyers to draw up contracts and things. So it was difficult, but in the scheme of things, it wasn't the most difficult thing about running a business. There were lots of hurdles, so it was just. Yeah.
How do you think those 18 international partnerships have helped move your business forward, though? Has it been a big attributing factor, or?
Not necessarily. I think it gave us a little bit more legitimacy, I think, sometimes, but mainly for our campaigns. So we have done Whale Week with one of our partner charities, with Whale and Dolphin Conservation, and that was great in just generating awareness, so we can do cross promotions and support each other. So that sort of thing, it might draw more traffic to our website and to our partner's website. The cross promotion helps both of us. So in that regard, yes, but it was just a way for us to support these charities. And I think one thing it's really done is give our audience a broader, more comprehensive overview of some of the issues facing wildlife around the world. Some of the charities work in really unique fields, and we've been able to teach kids more about that. Yeah.
Why did you think you found early success getting those partnerships? Was it because the message you were trying to push through, or? Yeah,
I think it was partly that our values aligned with the charities that we were reaching out to, and also that these are still charities, and if somebody's offering them support, mostly they'll say yes. If I emailed them and I said, look, I want to try and raise funds for you, I want to try and raise awareness, here's what we do, then most charities will be excited as long as they have the resources and you're not taking up too much of their time. So it was. It took time. I was building a relationship with a lot of the founders or the marketing directors of the charities. So it can take time to build relationships just across any field. So yeah.
Is it hard juggling like 18 different partnerships? Is there a bit of like conflict of interest amongst them? Or?
No, but that has been partnering with charities. There are certain requirements that we have to meet as well. So who we get funding from or who we align ourselves with is very important. So, for example, we could never align ourselves with an aquarium, just because we have partnered with whale and dolphin conservation, who are actively fighting the negative impacts that aquarium have on a lot of marine life. So there are considerations like that to take into account. Yeah.
Yeah, that's difficult because
yeah,
the kids love going to the aquariums and stuff.
Yeah,
That'll be such a
and they can be really educational. Zoos and aquariums. Really. Some of them do brilliant work in conservation and education. Some of them don't. So we just need to, sometimes make difficult decisions about who we can align ourselves with. But at the end of the day, if we have our partners have been around from day one, and if they're still strong partners and they're still doing great work, then I'd like to stick by them.
Yep. So this one's a bit of a two-part question. So we saw that you also worked for another organisation. You're the Australian director of Dogstar.
Yes.
Can you tell us a bit about that, and can you also tell us what lessons you've learned from that you could apply to My Green World?
Yeah. So Dogstar Foundation is a charity based in Sri Lanka, and they work in rabies prevention among street dogs and also overpopulation. So to date, Dogstar have vaccinated and desexed over 50,000 street dogs and cats in Sri Lanka. They've reduced the population by over 70% in the areas that they've worked. I've been involved with Dogstar Foundation for about 8 years now, and I set up an Australian charity, so Dogstar Foundation Down Under, and that's been an incredible experience. It's taught me a lot more about the non-profit industry. It's taught me a lot about managing boards, about governance, about some of the the challenges that the non-profit sector faces in Australia and overseas. Dogstar Foundation I've been involved with longer than I have with My Green World, actually. They're, I think, a charity, and I think that's some of the issues with the non-profit sector or the reason some charities might fail is because they're not being run as if they're businesses. So we still need to remember that a charity is a business. It is important to have good guidance and governance and have mentors and build strong relationships and have a strong business model, and that's what Dogstar Foundation does. A lot of the work I've done with Dogstar Foundation has really propelled my career, my personal career, and my career in My Green World. Yeah.
So, can you just give us a snapshot of what your average day is like?
Oh God, it's so varied. So this year has been really chaotic. I've actually been lucky enough to travel quite a bit. So from what was it, July through to October, I was overseas for most of it, back and forth from Australia to Kenya and then to Europe and back in Australia and Europe again. So day to day, I couldn't even tell you. There's been times when I've been in Sri Lanka chasing street dogs, trying to net them and to vaccinate them, and then there were days where I'm just sitting at home Skyping with a business shirt and pajama bottoms on, having a Skype meeting, or days where I work in my co-working space. If I was having a good week where I'm able to just sort of knuckle down and focus on My Green World, I'd be at my co-working space just on my laptop with maybe a couple of meetings scheduled throughout the day. But rarely does my life look like that. Normally it can be up at 2 a.m. Skyping with a partner in the US, or so it's just chaos. There's never 2 days that look alike.
So how do you juggle the commitments between Dogstar and My Green World?
Yeah, I come up with daily planners. So Dogstar Foundation, it comes in peaks and troughs. There's a very strong team in Sri Lanka. So my workload for My Green World would take up 70 to 80% of my time, whereas Dogstar Foundation is quite a bit smaller. But each day I come up with a plan and my to-do list, and I just prioritise, just focus on what's the most pressing thing that I need to do today, and I'll work on that. But yeah, it can be difficult to juggle it all, and don't work normal hours and I don't get enough sleep and I don't have a good work-life balance. But that's the nature of it, I think.
Yeah, because a lot of entrepreneurs say like you can't juggle between things. Do you feel like it is something that entrepreneurs can do? Like you can balance two things at once while still finding success in both of them?
Yeah, absolutely. I think most of my friends and most of the entrepreneurs that I work with, they're juggling multiple things. And I think that is the way of the entire workforce now. There's no longer there is this pressure to just have one singular career. People are having multiple careers. They're doing multiple things. They're polymaths. They're learning about a whole variety of things. I'm doing a coding course shortly. There's lots of different things that we can get involved in, and I think you can excel in more than one thing. And it's just this really exciting period where you're just discovering yourself and what you're good at, how you can have the most impact. So I think that I like to think that I can get involved in a variety of different things and be successful in a lot of them, and I'll probably be unsuccessful in a lot of them too. But no, definitely most people that I work with, they're doing definitely more than one thing successfully.
So what's a tip, just to wrap this up, so what's a tip you would give to young entrepreneurs looking to tackle a big social issue? I'd
say don't try and find a problem to fit your perceived solution. I think that it's important to, before you start a business, think, are you necessary? Why are you doing this? Is it for ego, or is it you truly want to make a difference or launch a business? I think sometimes people come up with these solutions before actually understanding the problem they're working to solve. So I think it's vital that before starting a business, you really understand the problem and why you're doing it.
Yeah, that's a really good tip, actually.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to end the podcast. Well, thanks for coming on, Natalie.
Thank you.
That concludes our interview with Natalie. You can find Natalie at mygreenworld.org. For more information on Australian Incupod, visit us at australianincupod.com. Make sure you leave us a review and follow us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and our website to stay up to date with our latest episodes.